Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. It is the fourth day of the teachers' strike. The head of the Polish Teachers' Union declared today that he accepts the invitation of Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki to round-table talks about the situation in the Polish education system, but subject to certain conditions. At the same time, junior high school exams are underway and, according to the Ministry of Education, everything is going according to plan.
Over 350,000 third-grade junior high school students have taken their second day of exams. Today, their knowledge of mathematics and natural sciences was put to the test.
Another very good day. All schools took the exam. Even in schools where there were problems yesterday, exams were also carried out.
We do not receive any signals from the directors of the district examination boards that the examination, wherever it takes place, had any disruptions and all the exams in all schools run smoothly. Meanwhile, the head of the Polish Teachers' Union, Sławomir Broniarz, is alarmed that in some schools the police are making lists of striking teachers. Police headquarters commented on reports of alleged police interventions at schools. It is our duty to ensure that as far as possible there are no situations as in the Świętokrzyskie province when a man burst into school, was aggressive, insulted striking teachers and broke up posters. We count on thanking you for your concern, not criticism. ZNP today announced the launch of the strike fund from which money is to be paid to teachers during the time of strike. This fund, which I have created here, will serve as at least partial symbolic support for those who will not have the fortune of the authorities understanding that this is not just a strike for money, it is primarily a strike for the good of the Polish students and Polish education. The head of the Ministry of Education, Anna Zalewska, believes the launch of the strike fund by the ZNP is its statutory duty.
We don't know the details. We don't know what type of fund it will be, so it's difficult to comment on it. But I would like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to remind the teachers, that according to the Act on Collective Disputes, the union has such a fund and can pay for those striking. These are the regulations.
Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki suggested a roundtable discussion on the situation in Polish education with trade unionists just after the Easter holidays. ZNP leader Sławomir Broniarz announced that the trade unionists would take part in this, but claims that the crisis is happening now and the Prime Minister's proposal does not bring us any closer to resolving the issue. In line with the Act on Collective Disputes, during a strike an employee retains the right to social security benefits as well as employment entitlements with the exception of remuneration.
Senator Jan Rulewski, a legend of the Solidarity Trade Union, has announced his departure from the Civic Platform Parliamentary Club. He said he could no longer tolerate the growing influence of post-communist forces in his political camp. From the same, Alexandra Zajicka has more.
If today Brexit and Pole exit are in fashion, I can make a rule exit, says Jan Rulewski, senator of the Civic Platform Party, which entered into a European coalition of various parties. The problem is that some of the other parties are left-wing, and some stem from parties of communist Poland, in which Jan Rulewski was prosecuted, beaten and jailed. The senator issued a statement informing that he no longer accepts the coexistence of his centrist Civic Platform Party with post-communist parties. He cites the possibility of losing his political credibility as the main reason. He can't stand the fact that the leaders of the list of candidates to the European Parliament are former communist apparatchiks. He gave the example of Janusz Zemke, who is a candidate from the Kujawian-Pomerian voivodeship. Accepting this would be a contradiction to the values he was fighting for as a politician for 50 years.
I am running because I have to file a report at the moment. I did explain myself in the first paragraph of my statement, which is published on the internet. You can say that in today's Kujawian-Pomeranian Solidarity, the legend of anti-communist opposition is totally against a candidate from a party which is home to those who beat and tortured him and his opposition friends under communist rule. Too bad he didn't do that when the European coalition was forming right away. Now it is a bit late. I don't think he will end his political career and will return to politics after the European elections. The Civic Platform Party says they want to defend European values and democracy, yet take into their ranks people who, in communist times, were very active in making Poland dependent on Soviet Russia. This shows how trustworthy the Civic Platform Party is.
The departure of Senator Jan Rulewski is not the only sign of discontent of some of the politicians belonging to the European coalition. Another one is Adam Scheinfeld, who retracted himself from the European elections.
Zrezygnował dziś.
The President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, has filed a motion with the Prosecutor General's office to pardon Marek Falenta, a businessman involved in the 2013 tape recording scandal. As a spokesperson for the President, Blażej Spichalski announced, this is a standard procedure and does not mean that the President will necessarily grant the pardon.
Tutaj mamy do czynienia.
We are dealing with a precisely calculated political action. Marek Falenta was apprehended with the help of Spanish police, and straight after that the procedure to pardon the detainee was put in motion. I hope, and we know that the President is not a brave man, that the President will succumb to the public opinion and will decide not to pardon Marek Falenta. This is also our wish, that people who commit crimes such as Mr. Falenta, to quote a classic, spend their holiday where they belong.
Nasza intencja.
This decision was made by the President. This is standard procedure. Whenever the President receives a pardon motion, he always files it with the Prosecutor General. This is what the President did. I do not know what decision he is going to make in the end.
WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange was arrested by British police in London on Thursday, the 11th of April. The Metropolitan Police were invited to the Ecuadorian embassy, where Assange has been living since taking refuge there in 2012 to avoid extradition to Sweden over a sexual assault case that has since been dropped. He was arrested after Ecuadorian President Moreno announced that Assange's asylum had been withdrawn.
The co-founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, was arrested after a 7-year stay at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. The Australian has sought refuge there because he feared being deported to the United States, where he is accused of spying. This follows WikiLeaks disclosing secret military material regarding US operations in Iraq and US diplomatic cables. It was the largest leak of information in US history.
WikiLeaks uncovered an extensive spying operation against Julian Assange within the Ecuadorian embassy. It entails a total invasion of privacy of Mr. Assange.
The Ecuadorian authorities decided to withdraw Assange's political asylum and allowed British police officers to enter the premises of their embassy in London. Julian Assange was taken into custody and will soon be in court. Ecuador is a generous country and a nation with open arms. Ours is a government respectful of the principles of international law and the institution of the right of asylum. Granting or withdrawing asylum is a sovereign right of the Ecuadorian state according to international law. Today, I announce that the discourteous and aggressive behavior of Mr. Julian Assange, the hostile and threatening declarations of its allied organization against Ecuador, and especially the transgression of international treaties have led the situation to a point where the asylum of Mr. Assange is unsustainable and no longer viable.
No one is above the law. Julian Assange is no hero. He is hidden from the truth for years and years, and it is right that his future should be decided in the British judicial system.
The long struggle for justice for me and others continues.
While in the embassy, Julian Assange did not cease activity on the internet. In 2016, he published stolen emails from the election staff of Hillary Clinton, and in 2017, he supported the Catalans in their striving for independence.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Tonight the temperatures will vary from -1 degree in Koszalin, Olsztyn, as well as in Bydgoszcz and Poznań, and up to 7 degrees in Krakow, Rzeszów. 3 degrees will be seen in Warsaw, and showers will be appearing in Lublin. If we look at tomorrow, we will see that 10 degrees will be the maximum in Lublin. Also Warsaw will see 9 degrees, and showers will be appearing in the area of Szczecin, Koszalin, also in Zielona Góra and Poznań. Now let's check the next 3 days. 11 degrees will be the maximum on Saturday, and the minimum will be 8 degrees with showers as well in the northwest. On Sunday, a bit warmer, up to 12 degrees in the southwest, 11 degrees in central Poland, and the minimum of 10 degrees in the eastern parts of the country. And Monday is looking very nice and sunny, up to 12 degrees in the northwest, 11 degrees in central Poland, and the minimum of 9 in the south. least. This is all for tonight. Thank you.
Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Robert Kuraszkiewicz, CEO of Bank Pocztowy. Sir, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah. Bank Pocztowy is an initiative of Poczta Polska or Polish Post, and you are present in all those Polish posts?
Yes, definitely. Postal Bank is a subsidiary of Poczta Polska, and we offer our services through the network of Poczta Polska. So we are present in virtually every point of territorial point in Poland.
The banking market in Poland is quite tight. There are lots of banks, smaller and bigger, and you are a newcomer to this
Actually, we're
field.
not a newcomer, but we're not yet a big player, at least not yet. But our specific is that we are working through the Poczta Polska, and we see this as a market opportunity. And even if we are not a big bank right now, so we think that we have this opportunity that we can service our customers through the network, large network of Poczta Polska.
This isn't something new in Europe. We have a post bank in Germany. We have similar in Austria. So it's pretty much standard issue. But those banks are over 100 years old.
I mean, maybe not so old in every European country, but post offices in European countries, they are looking for the new source of revenues because the postal market is changing very rapidly, and people are using less and less traditional postal services. Okay. So post offices in every European country, they are looking for the new services, new sources of revenues for them. And as in Poland, in other countries, the post offices are present in every corner of their countries. So this is the occasion to add the new services, and banking services are one of them as one of the most rapidly developing new services for post offices.
The banking services are also targeted to particular groups of society. So what is your favorite target? How do you imagine your customer?
You know, our customer is, first of all, the customer which uses the post office. Second, we are proudly bank of so-called regional bank. So we are mostly present in regions, not in the centers of like in Warsaw or Poznań and so on. So we service the clients also over there, but we are dedicated toward those places which are underdeveloped and don't have such a large offer of other banks in Polish regions. So we are there, and we offer. We are on the bank very frequently, which is present there, and we offer there our services.
So what are the challenges connected to this large offer and entering the market when no one else entered?
The challenge is to as usual, to offer a good service for our customer, and the services through which we are able to earn money also for us and for our shareholder, which is also Poczta Polska. And the other challenge is to take a part in changing of banking world. I mean, the technology nowadays influences very rapidly the banking sector, and our biggest challenge probably is to combine the large network of post offices combined with the new technology. And we are present in this area also. We have very modern technological platform of so-called Envelope Bank, which is a mobile platform. And we offer our customers also, and this is I believe, our competitive advantage, that we have a very large network of physical offices, which will be present, because the post office will be present in foreseeable future in every part of country. On the other hand, we have a very modern mobile platform. So we offer traditional services and we offer very modern ones.
There are people who like to use banks, but they are afraid of using international internet accounts, mobile payments, and so on. And those are also your customers?
Yeah, definitely. So we are able to service this kind of customers, which requires all the time physical contact with the clerks, with for them the real services. So we were able to offer the services through this large network of post outlets.
Are you directed to the individual customers, or you think about the small and medium enterprises?
Our primary goal is to service the private customers. But as I mentioned at the very beginning, we are a subsidiary of Poczta Polska. So we work right now with Poczta Polska on new services dedicated to small and medium businesses concerned with the e-commerce.
Right, because if the business moves to the e-commerce, the binding, the payment with the parcel, with delivery, with acquisition, that makes like perfect package.
We are on the road to offer the services in the near future, combining the offer of Poczta Polska and the financial and banking services. Actually, right now, if our customer, which is the customer on our mobile platform, this Envelope Bank, can order the courier and follow the way when the package is going.
Delivered.
So it's possible to watch it and order from the platform.
Right. And can I pick up my parcel in the postal office?
You can definitely in postal office, but not only, because right now the Poczta Polska is introducing the new way of delivery in Poland, so-called delivery at point, and you can pick up your parcel in very large network. Right now it is around more than 10,000 points in Poland where you can pick up your parcel.
The banks who are operating in Poland, Poland is a fairly large country, so it is enough for one bank to have its operation here and profit from that. But some people look abroad. Do you have this ambition to go abroad with your services?
I mean, maybe not specifically go abroad with our services as, for example, to establish our outlets over there, but we are servicing our customers through the post network already in Poland right now, for example, in payment sector. So in every post office in Poland, it's possible right now to order the international transfer of money through our partner, which is MoneyGram. So this is the combined service of Postal Bank, MoneyGram, and Poczta Polska.
Poland is a very interesting country because in the past 20 years, we exported lots of our labor to the Western Europe. The money from these emigrants are coming still to their families here in Poland. And since about 5 years, we have new wave of immigration to Poland. The first time in 300 years, Poland became a migration target. And those people earn money and send to their loved ones, families, to Ukraine, Belarus, you name it.
Definitely, you're right. And we can observe it through our service right now, which is service sending money and receiving money. And we combine, we're trying to find a way to find the new customers. And for example, we offer We offer the bank account for let's say shortly Ukrainians, but it's not only dedicated to Ukrainians, but most of them, they are using it. And we have the internet page and internet service based on Ukrainian language also. So we combine the possibility of sending money and regular banking services through bank account.
That's a very innovative information.
I think so, yeah.
Robert Kuraszkiewicz, CEO of Bank Pocztowy. Sir, thank you very much for participating in this show.
Thank you very much.
That was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.
Good evening, this is Poland Daily Weather. Tomorrow in Poland, the maximum temperature will be 10 degrees in the area of Lublin, also in Rzeszów, and 9 degrees will be seen in Krakow as well as in Warsaw. The minimum temperature will be 5 degrees in Koszalin, and showers will be appearing there as well. Also Szczecin, Zielona Góra, Krakow and Rzeszów will be seeing quite a bit of showers tomorrow. If we look at the map of Europe for tomorrow, we will see that the warmest places will be again Lisbon in Portugal and Madrid in Spain, but quite a bit of sun is expected in Oslo, also in Stockholm, as well as in Vilnius, Minsk and Kiev. 6 degrees will be noted in Helsinki as well as in Moscow and Stockholm. This is all for tonight. Thank you.
Mike Trebacz, the founder of Cruising Krakow, was born in Krakow. He left Poland at an early age with the rest of the communist-era exodus and moved to Vancouver, Canada. Mike completed a degree in philosophy at the University of British Columbia, sold his car, and moved to the opposite end of the cultural spectrum, Spain. He worked in Barcelona, but after 3 years of beaches, sunshine, and sangria, returned to the city of his birth. Mike has been running Cruising Krakow since 2006. The firm offers bike and segway tours for which roads are not necessary. You can blaze the trails, charge the open fields, and trek through the dirt. These off-road beasts have a wide base platform for maximum comfort, deep tread tires to traverse all sorts of terrain, and will go up to 20 kilometers per hour for about 20 kilometers. Jon Carter and Mike Trebacz will be taking you for a tour around Krakow.
All right then, Michał. So we're in a typical Kazimierz restaurant. It's Once Upon a Time in Kazimierz. Tell us a little something about the history of this particular place.
Well, as you can see, this place is kind of frozen in time. Originally, this wasn't a restaurant, but rather 3 different Jewish stores. And outside, the owners' names are still on the signs outside of the restaurant. And they'll say his name and then what type of shop it was. We are currently sitting in the general store where they sold things like clocks, radios, lanterns. There's even a vacuum cleaner behind me, an old accordion.
Yeah.
But then further, if you look across from you, there's brick sticking out of the wall.
Yes.
So that brick is where the walls where they divided the shops. And you can see the color of the walls changed as well. So the next shop over would have been the tailor shop. There's actually a sewing machine still. You can still see the dresses hanging. And then further, if you can see the next wall, that would have been the carpentry shop.
Uh-huh.
So you can see all these doorways into the same restaurant. Those are all actually separate entrances to the different shops because they were divided by walls, right?
Okay, so it's actually extremely small shops then.
Extremely small. So you would have had the shop downstairs and you would have lived upstairs most of the time.
All right then. Yeah, and this is kind of like, you've really got some odd different things coming from this particular shop. I'm sort of looking around, and it's really funny that you would have such a small shop, but some kind of really big kind of products sold in here. It's very sort of tight for space, and yet they sold these huge clunky suitcases, and you've got a giant barrel up here in the corner, and I'm trying to sort of picture it in terms of, you know, they made much business out of these sorts of things, because it's all sort of seems quite random to me.
That's a big difference between commerce back then and today. Whereas back then you wouldn't have a store that would specialize so much in one thing, but rather you would have a store and you'd sell as much as you could because it was the one store in the region.
So it was more kind of whatever they could get their hands on and then just potentially sell it. I see, yeah, I suppose I'm thinking through the lenses of the 21st century, where we kind of have anything and everything at the click of a button, or even on our doorstep. Okay then, so over here then, you have, but they did have specialist shops though, because as you say, you got the tailors. So what sort of...
That's the difference, is these guys would import and sell. Whereas the next shops over would actually create their own products. So like the tailor would make his own dresses, the carpenter would make his own chairs, cupboards, and that he would sell as well.
Okay, and so what sort of thing was the tailor making? Was it something so different from
a lot of them were traditional Jewish dresses.
Okay.
Like we've seen around town, there's a lot of Orthodox Jews walking around today, mostly tourists, but they still wear the same attire. Most of the men wear the dark, almost like a tuxedo with a big dark hat. You can still see that hanging from the ceiling there, as well as a wedding dress here.
Aha, oh right, yeah, I didn't spot the wedding dress. And then with the sort of the carpentry, is that more sort of for fun? Because I can kind of see a rocking horse there as well.
There's a lot of functional products, like tables over there, there's chairs. Those are the big things. Those are the essentials you have to have in your home, right? You got to have a table to eat on, a chair to sit on.
Sure.
And the more wealthier will have a cupboard or two, right?
Well, thinking about the food then, what sort of differentiates the food that we might find here from kind of elsewhere in other places? I don't just mean sort of Kazimierz, but rather broadly outside of Kazimierz?
Well, it's still owned by Polish people. So this restaurant isn't considered to be kosher.
No,
but it still has traditional Polish dishes, or rather I should say Jewish dishes.
Okay.
Such as the chulin, we mentioned earlier, the kind of Jewish chili, 3 types of beans.
Oh yeah.
Here you'll also find what they call Jewish caviar, which is chicken livers, with hard-boiled egg and truffle-flavored olive oil.
So it's Jewish caviar because it's black?
Well, Jews don't eat a lot, or don't eat any shellfish, so I don't even think they eat fish eggs. In this case, this would be their caviar.
But it's caviar because it's such a delicacy, or it's...
That's a good question.
I'm asking.
It could very well be, yeah. It's an appetizer. So like, I guess caviar comes in a small portion as your appetizer, just like this is before your main course.
I'll level with you. The idea of chicken liver as a sort of delicacy is not wildly appealing to me. I mean, I wouldn't sort of leave it out, but it's definitely not something I'd sort of... Ooh, chicken liver, yeah.
I know it does not sound appetizing.
What else is there on the menu then? Which
then you'll start find traditional Polish pierogies, right?
Of course, yeah.
You gotta have that chicken, or you'll still even find pork cutlet, even though Jews don't eat pork. Nonetheless, I told you this isn't a kosher restaurant. So you can still find that on the menu. So it's not. This restaurant isn't just for Jews. It's for everyone.
Kazimierz was once an independent town governed separately from Krakow until the late Middle Ages. Later, it became known as the Jewish quarter of the city and was finally transformed into a center for Krakow's beatnik bars and cafe culture. All that history makes for an awesome array of activities and sights. The town of Kazimierz Dolny is a one-of-a-kind place. It was not only a royal city and one of the largest inland trade ports during the Polish Golden Age, but also a real gem of Renaissance architecture, with its spectacular wooden villas, elegant arcades, and beautiful galleries. The urban superiority, eminence, wealth, and the rural coziness and down-home feeling of the country retreat were successfully balanced in the design and layout of the town.
You got a little bit of both sides of the mixture of the cultures, because in a funny way, it's like it does seem a very kind of internal culture when you're in Kazimierz. I was very Jewish, and so I don't sort of see or feel something which maybe blends or fuses the Polish, what we think of as typically Polish culture today with Jewish. Is that a fair representation, or?
Yeah, there's not much fusion, although this is a broad subject, but in terms of religion, you will also find the synagogue temple here in Kazimierz, which is one synagogue that people actually rent out for like bar mitzvahs and Jewish occasions. This is a Reform synagogue, so you no longer find the Orthodox Jew where they have a very strict guidelines. Now it's more laxed. And the synagogue itself is actually more of a church.
Okay.
So as opposed to the traditional synagogue that has the bima, like the pulpit in the middle of the ceremonial room, this is more of a church like where there's an altar in the back overlooking everybody in the front.
How have we got to the point at which we've sort of fused the Jewish and the Christian faiths together then?
That's another broad question. I don't think I'll be able to answer in such a short segment, but...
Go on, just touch on maybe what...
You find that in a lot of religions where you come to the Reformation, like in Christianity, there's a Reformation and you break off from traditional Catholic views, and so too with the Jewish faith, you find that in the 19th century that starts to break off from the traditional Orthodox.
And is there some sort of significance to these candles? Is that a Jewish thing, or am I reading too much into it?
This place, I mean, a lot of places in Kazimierz stick to this rustic feel.
Yeah.
So they go away from the LED lighting, let's say, and it's more candlelit or even gas lanterns. So they kind of try to keep this place frozen in time in the late 19th century, which I would say was the golden era of Jewish culture in Kazimierz.
It does. That's the exact same thing I was thinking. It's like it's a bit of an odd feel in the summer with it because it's so kind of dingy and dark, whereas in winter you've got this kind of cozy feel to it with the soft lighting, etc. How does it sort of sit with you in summer when you're in somewhere so kind of...
It's a little hot, like it's stuffy. You can feel like now it's a little bit stuffy, but you can imagine with the heat in the summer. And you're absolutely right. There's a big contrast between here and say the old town of Krakow, where you find a lot of nightclubs. It's a lot louder in terms of going out. Here in Kazimierz, you'll find more pubs and bars or cafes where it's a sit-down, talk face-to-face type of venue, whereas the old town is more dancing and much louder.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe it sort of tends to, would you say it draws an older crowd because of that, or is it rather still mixed?
For sure, you could say it's more of the 30-plus crowd.
Yeah. Well, I'm fitting into that category. It's probably why I'm feeling a little bit like, all right, got a nice little candle, bit of soft lighting, making me feel relaxed into it.
Or it's a good place to start. I always recommend this to our guests that you start in Kazimierz and you finish in the old town. Right?
Start off light, finish strong.
Exactly.
All right then.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we are at the city of Lublin, one of the oldest and most historical city of Eastern Poland. We'll be going to the Catholic University of Lublin to talk to a professor, a Polish Canadian, who wrote the first history book in English about Lublin. Let's kick things off with the history of 1966 when the Polish state was established. Were there any records of Lublin being a city back then? Were there any archaeological findings?
Rather archaeological findings.
Right.
So what they know, more or less, there were several settlements. There wasn't one concentrated settlement. There were several settlements and a fort before the state of Poland was created. And it was on a trading trail, one of the branches of the famous Amber Trail, the one that extended out to the east, shall we say, and not the north-south one that's slightly better known,
right,
up to the Baltic Sea.
Right.
And, but of course, then when the Polish state was established, it disrupted the earlier settlement, shall we say. So they know that a lot of the area was burned out, so it wasn't a peaceful transition, shall we say, from the older.
Right. For our audience who doesn't know about the Amber Trail, can you go a little bit into what that is?
Yes.
It's just like a general description and idea.
Well, the Amber Trail, the Baltic was very, one of the commercial aspects of the Baltic was the amber jewelry was there in the sand and so on, and there were a couple of trading routes that went up to throughout Europe. So there was a trading route that extended into Western Europe, and there was one that went out further east, shall we say, and Lublin was on this one that was further east. Up to
It's actually on the trail, and that's kind of had its significance.
Yes.
Interesting.
So that's one of the reasons why Lublin was the most important center in between the Bug and the Vistula rivers, two major, well, the Bug is kind of a major tributary of the Vistula River.
So what was the role of Lublin in the early stages of the Polish state being established?
Well, Lublin maintained its position as a trading settlement, shall we say, but it also became important for the early state was, shall we say, unified for more or less a century. And at that point, so there was a castle, well, a fort, more a fort than a castle, and there was a royal official.
Right.
The church must have come in more or less at that time as well, although perhaps a little less is known about that. There is a very early church by the name of Saint Nicholas, and Saint Nicholas was very popular saint among both Western Christendom and Eastern Christendom.
Right.
But at that time, it had many roles. The saint had many functions, shall we say?
Right.
Use a very blunt term.
Sure.
And so that even causes a problem for the historians.
Yeah.
Because of the different functions. So one of the functions was, for instance, St. Nicholas was a patron of markets.
Right.
So they think that they know that there was a market close to the area where St. Nicholas Church was where the parish was established. But on the other hand, St. Nicholas also shepherded souls to to purgatory or wherever. So it might have simply been that there was a graveyard, a Christian graveyard on the hill where that church was later established.
Right.
More people are inclined towards this market thesis. So here is another problem. Where you don't have documents, there's a lot of guesswork.
Right.
But it's fascinating. It's fascinating because of these different functions. That also says something about the mentality of the people at that period.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thought.
And so that's one of the things that I was very interested in as well. Like, for instance, there's less debate about another church that is now in the old town, that was built in the old town. It was the first official parish church, because it was in this major part of the old town. St. Nicholas was a little bit off to the side from the castle, and the major settlement was in the current old town. And that was St. Michael's Church, and St. Michael is a militant saint.
Right.
So he helped in military ventures. And since that part of Poland was invaded a number of times, so you had a lot of fighting, and there was a prince of Krakow, and Lublin was in this Krakow, at least in the church province of Krakow, but also I guess the state had a lot to do with Lublin at that time. And he was chasing out kind of Jadwingians. I'm not too sure how to pronounce that, but they were invading Poland at that time, and he was kind of wasn't very successful. So the legend goes, he sat underneath an oak tree in the old town, and he had a dream, and Saint Michael inspired him to chase the Jadwingians out of Poland.
Right.
And so when he was successful, he built the church.
Right.
So you have a sacred oak, you have a church, and so they also think there might have been some sort of cult there before, pre-Christian cult at that site as well. Now the church has not survived. It was taken down in the 19th century. But there's a great sort of, well, they built a kind of a bronze miniature of that church on the site of that church in the old town. On the way to the castle,
Lublin's early history is veiled in mystery as few documents survived from the 13th and 14th century. Next up, we will ask Professor Grabowski about the difficulties in writing about the city's early history.
When it comes to studying early documents and going into the details of Lublin's past history, do you find it to be easy, or were there difficulties in trying to figure out what really happened back then? Because I don't imagine documenting was a really prominent thing at the time.
Well, when you have a state, you have documents. And here, of course, I'm basing what I'm saying here on what I've read by a number of these historians of Lublin's earlier history. And one of the problems was that Lublin was on the frontier. So, of course, there was a state. There was even an important church official who was mentioned. Actually, the church official was the first one mentioned in a chronicle anywhere. So the end of the 12th century. But these documents, because Lublin was on the frontier and was invaded a number of times, most of these documents simply disappeared. They were destroyed. So basically, most of what is known about Lublin is archaeology, or some of the, like I mentioned, some of these churches that that you have guesswork.
Right.
So the name says something in itself. So that church of St. Nicholas that I mentioned, the actual document is from the 14th century, but they know that it must have been much earlier.
So it's like archaeology up to a point, and then when we finally have documents, we start retracing and see if we can connect the dots.
You can only say so much with archaeology.
Right.
They usually go hand in hand, and then you get a fuller story.
As we have seen today, Lublin has a very long, yet at times dramatic history. But places such as the Catholic University of Lublin sufficiently demonstrated the city spirit and their love for freedom. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello and welcome to Poland Daily. We're on an excursion to the city of Łódź. It's right in the center of the country. Known as the Polish Manchester, it's a city of art and industry. And that's where we are for this series of episodes. Łódź is famous for factories making all kinds of things, as we'll see. In its heyday, it supplied textiles to the whole of Europe. In post-World War II Poland, Łódź also became a factory of dreams. It was the site of the Warsaw Film School at Łódź, and it earned the city the sobriquet of Hollywood. That's right. the Hollywood of Poland. The film school produced such top talents as Roman Polanski, Andrzej Wajda, and Krzysztof Kieślowski, and many others, as we'll see. There are more superlatives in this city, about 75 miles southwest of Warsaw, the capital, which boasts the largest shopping center in Poland, Manufaktura. It's made out of an old factory complex. That's the largest shopping center in Poland. It also boasts the longest pedestrian street in the country, Piotrkowska, where you will find all manner of restaurants, clubs, and just about everything else you'd expect on a pedestrian street, including a statue of Arthur Rubinstein, the famous pianist who was from Łódź. And the pièce de résistance, marrying both technology and art, is the Science and Technology Museum next to the railway station. This is a world-class museum. It looks like something that belongs in the Smithsonian Institution. It's interactive and impressive. That's Łódź, and that's where we are on Poland Daily Travel, your destination for perhaps the best travel about Poland you'll find anywhere. Poland Daily Travel. Like us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. We like you. Watch us now.
Poland Daily Travel. I'm back here with Paweł Barczyński, and we're in the Science and Technology Museum, and we're going to look at how the power station used to work. Paweł, take it away.
So here you can see the real boiler, one of four that we have here in the boiler room. And it's cut in half to expose the interior. Okay, not everybody could see the interior of the boiler earlier, before, right?
Right.
So you can even line
What did
up.
the boiler do? What did it do?
It produced like 37.5 ton of pressurized steam to power the turbines in a turbo generator set. Okay. So you can imagine how much coal it needed to heat up the water and up to the boiling point, and then up to the 400 degrees Celsius at the end.
So this whole thing was full of coal?
Full of coal. This is a combustion chamber, 6 meters high.
It's a huge combustion chamber. It's all full of coal. And the water is here to cool it down so it doesn't collapse.
The water is here to warm up and even to boil, the boil inside. The water tubes, which I will expose with the light, they served as a kind of a heat exchanger, okay?
Oh, I see.
Right, so we heat up the water and then it boils even better and more. And then the temperature of boiling of the water is 100 degrees Celsius only, but under the pressure of 30 atmospheres inside of the system, the pressure is rising up to more than 260 degrees.
So you're creating a lot of steam.
A lot of steam power to power up the turbo generator set.
Yeah, and then that gets the generators going, which is creating your electricity.
Exactly. And see
just
it in
powering all those street lamps.
Exactly. So this is the chain of energy conversion.
And this was the way it worked 100 years ago.
100 years ago, up to the 2000, the January 1st of the 2000.
So it worked from 100 years ago up and roughly 100 years ago until 2000. The same system.
Exactly.
Was working.
Was working.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Not many failures.
Yeah.
Right. So it's quite amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because this is not new technology by any stretch. Is there something else we need to see?
Sure, we can see, let's say, the grates.
Yeah.
They are an interesting element of this boiler because they were moving grates. So coal was falling at the right end of the right hand side.
The grates are at the bottom.
Yes, exactly, and they moved slowly just to allow the coal to burn up to the rest. Okay, and then the slag and ashes fall down to the grates, to the grinding miles at the end. Okay.
Right. So we see the grates here and behind us. Yeah. And what else should we know?
All right. So this is the insulation. This is the construction, and the important and interesting thing is that the moment when you build the power plant like that, you have no chance to bring the boiler later on. You have to build the boiler and then build the boiler room around it. Okay. So it's the scale of the construction works. 1930, 1929.
Wow.
10 months and 70 days. It needed a half year to run the electricity, to run the power plant itself, but it was a huge success in the very tough days, actually. It was 29, so it was a great great problems on the markets.
You mean 1929? The Depression?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the moment when we built this factory.
Yeah. So it was an ambitious project, started at a not such a good time, the Depression, especially for a city, because the Depression began in October 1929.
Exactly.
In case people don't know that, but some people might not know that. So this huge project was undertaken right at a moment which was particularly bad for a city built on manufacturing.
So you can imagine how important it was and how proud the management was after this 10 months or 70 days.
Sure.
And we have the scene, like a historical scene in one of these boilers, if you want to look at it.
Do I have a what?
The historical scene reproduced in one of these boilers.
Yeah. Where is it?
Just behind us.
Just behind?
Okay.
Okay. Poland Daily Travel. Stay with me and Paul, or Paweł. Paul in English, Paweł in Polish. Stay with me and the doctor, and we're going to see the next thing. Okay.
Come on.
Come on, let's go. Poland Daily, we're back. This is a very exciting experiment that we've got ahead of us. I got something to do. I hope I do it right. Paweł, take over. What's going on here?
Right, so we want to bring this boiler to life again, okay, after 70 years or so. So then you can turn this crank and deliver the coal to the chambers over your head.
And what are these other people going to do?
These other people, Małgosia will move this crank and then deliver the coal back here to the boiler. Paula, then we will start the combustion chamber running with the air supplied from underneath.
Okay,
and then we produce
Paula's got to do the air, the thing.
And the flames.
Combustion.
Yeah,
Gosha
exactly.
and Paula. Okay,
right.
What we got
and
over
then
here?
Tom and Małgosia will open the valve, very important valve, because it's delivering the pressurized steam to the turbo generator. Okay? Are you ready?
Steam to the turbo generator. And this is all going to work?
Yes.
Are you sure, everybody?
All right, come on.
Is everybody ready?
Ready?
Yeah. Okay, let's go. What do I got to do?
So be optimal.
I'm a little excited here.
Come on.
Turn it. Okay.
Turn it and then observe if you want to.
I'm turning it.
Right, and then this is your control mission. Okay, so green area is for you, not yellow and not red. 3, 2, 1. Come on, delivery.
Go, go, go.
Call it over there.
Where
bring the it's falling over there, falling. Then burn it, please. Burn it, please. Push the button. Push the button. Okay, then. Right, slow. Come on, slowly. Oh, come on, stop. It's gonna fall. Open the valve. Yes. So it works, but not be too fast.
Great. It's like the Marx brothers. I'm not Karl Marx. The other guy.
Come on. Yeah. Right. So you stop. Otherwise, there will be huge problems in the moment.
Okay, let it go down. What are they doing? Over here.
Opening the valve and delivering the steam.
Delivering the steam.
Optimal position at the moment.
Oh my God, this is exciting.
It is. But remember to be connected. Your minds have to be connected and you have to cooperate.
I'm watching.
You're still waiting.
I'm waiting.
You're waiting until
it's still in the green.
Go to the green. Yeah,
I need to be in the green. Everybody's green.
The rest of your team is perfectly working.
Congratulations!
That's it.
We did it.
That's it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paweł. Yes, thank you. We did it. What a great, let's have a hand for the team. Poland Daily Travel. We do exciting things. Thank you, Paweł. Thank you, Gosha. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Tom. And
Gosha again.
2 Goshas. Yeah. What could be better than that? Watch Poland Daily Travel. More excitement in store, folks. Hey, after all that excitement with making the generators go and the coal falling and turning cranks, you know, it's time to have a little Christmas celebration in spring. What's this all about? Why does this exhibition here?
After 10 months and 17 days of construction works in 1929, the management of the power plant celebrated inside of this particular boiler on these grades. The table is not original, of course, but the pictures are original from 1929, the day before Christmas Eve.
1929?
The day before Christmas Eve.
The day before Christmas Eve, so the 23rd of December.
Of December.
And this was they said, we're going to have a celebration inside the boiler. That's how proud they were, because it meant a huge amount to provide this light. They were providing light at Christmas. And then when they could switch that on, It was
light
magic.
and heat, and
yeah, it was like
the warm.
It was like having the whole town become a Christmas tree.
Exactly.
I suppose, wasn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
So that's why we are produced this, and you can even hear the Christmas songs in the background.
Yeah, these are classic
Polish Christmas songs.
Polish Christmas songs, but done with really old recordings, I think.
Exactly, the original.
From the time, yeah? Let's listen a bit. Ah, Poland Daily Travel. We got up to some crazy and fun stuff. Isn't this great?